Coming up on Sunday, it's the U.S. men's and women's national team doubleheader, celebration of 100 years. U.S.-Germany men, Sunday, 2 o'clock Eastern on ESPN2 and Watch ESPN. And then right after, 4:30 on ESPN News, the U.S. women will take on Canada. We'll also look at the next upcoming games. We brought up the Germany game Sunday at RFK Stadium, but then the three big ones, World Cup qualifiers for Jurgen Klinsmann and his boys. And we welcome into the booth Big Red, Alexi Lalas, Taylor Twellman. And Alexi, during the first half, there's some popular topics on FC Boot Room. One of those is the back line, the uncertainty. We're almost a year from the World Cup. What do you make of the U.S. back line right now?
Well, I don't think we know what the U.S. back line is going to be. I don't think Jurgen Klinsmann knows what the back line is going to be. And I think it should start formulating right now. When you look at this back line, let's look at the personnel out there. I think the only constant is Omar Gonzalez. He is going to be there. Now, who's going to pair with him? Tonight, we're seeing Clarence Goodson, but Matt Beasler, we talked to Jurgen Klinsmann this morning. He said,
on him.
This is a challenge right here for Matt Beasler. He is in the mix. Then it gets a little weird. You got Fabian Johnson, all right? Playing in Hoffenheim, but he's playing in the midfield on the left-hand side. So is he your left back? We've seen DeMarcus Beasley, what he's doing. All right, is he the answer right now? I think he struggles at times when he's under pressure from some good players. And Edgar Castillo, I don't think necessarily when the game gets down and dirty that he has the physical abilities to keep up. On the other side, you got Steve Cherundolo, who has said, I need the summer off. Last time somebody said that, they went to Cambodia and they're not with the team anymore. You got Jeff Cameron, who I am sorry, he is not a right back. Scored a goal, that's wonderful, but I thought he struggled in this first half, and you can just see he is not comfortable out there. And then you got Tim Chandler, who won't get on a plane to play with the U.S. So you got a lot of questions out there as to who the back four is going to be. Back fours take time. You need to have communication. You need to have coordination. Right now, at some point, Jurgen Klinsmann's going to have to decide these are the guys, and we're going to get them as many reps as possible.
All right, ton of questions also on Twitter, and you brought it up. Landon Donovan and the lack of creating scoring chances for the U.S. Do we ever see him again?
Look, I don't think that Landon Donovan right now is part of the U.S. national team's plans. When you talk to Jurgen Klinsmann, he says the door is open. I believe that he certainly believes that, but I think that this train has left the station. And that is a problem because Jurgen Klinsmann, this is the risk that he takes. If this U.S. team falters, if they have problems, and throughout qualifying process, you're going to have times where you have problems.
Right.
And what's going to happen? The first thing that's going to happen is that camera's going to turn.
Well, he's all-time everything.
Exactly. It's going to show Landon Donovan, who in my estimation is the best American player of all time, sitting on a couch in Los Angeles watching this. And people are going to say, how is it possible that this man right here is not with the U.S. national team when they're struggling? Now, if they're winning and they're doing well, it's not a problem. And Jurgen Klinsmann is okay because he sends that message that, you know what, you have got to be here. And you have got to be here through the battles. And Landon Donovan made a decision. There are consequences to that decision. I think he understands that. But it's real hard if the U.S. team or if you're the U.S. coach to leave a Landon Donovan on the bench.
And to that point, Josie Altidore, 75% of his goals have been with Landon Donovan on the field. Don't go anywhere. It's a beautiful night here in Cleveland. Alexi Lalas, Taylor Twellman will announce the MLS opponent. Coming up next. And here it is, July 31st, live from Kansas City. It's the 2013 AT&T MLS All-Star Game against Michael Bradley and Roma from Serie A. Coverage begins at 8:30 Eastern Time on ESPN on Wednesday, July 31st from Sporting Park in Kansas City. Should be a fun one. Now, on the bad side of news for MLS. Today, huge news hit Twitter. You talked with Chivas USA. They are being sued from two youth coaches. You had the opportunity to talk to one of the youth coaches.
Yeah, Teddy Chronopoulos and Dan Kalishman, both youth coaches for Chivas USA, who were recently fired. They are alleging wrongful termination because they were discriminated again. This is what they allege. They were discriminated again for not being Mexican or Latino. This is big news.
We've talked about this.
Exactly. We talked about this early on in the season because Jorge Vergara, the owner of Chivas, came in and said they were going to return to their Mexican roots. And I asked at the time, if I'm a young player in Southern California without Mexican or Latino heritage, do I have the same chance as other players to play? That was a question that I asked. Well, if these allegations are true, it seems that if you're a coach, it's the same questions that you're asking. Now, we talked to Chivas. They said they are not going to comment on this. We talked to MLS. They said they're not going to comment on this, although they did say it was important to note that Keith Costigan, who was born in Ireland and lives in the United States, was named to replace Dan Kalishman. I talked to Dan Kalishman today, and he said, I was not fired because of performance. And Chivas made that perfectly clear. And by the way, doesn't matter about Keith Costigan in terms of him replacing Dan Kalishman. If there was discrimination at the time, that's what's going to be decided. This is a big story for MLS and I think for soccer.
And it's one that you and I will both follow. Let's go to the first half highlights because I'd like to get a couple of your thoughts, particularly early this game. It kind of opened up a little bit. You know, it opened up. Josie Altidore had an early chance here, and you kind of felt like the U.S. had their way of play.
For those of you that say that Josie Altidore doesn't get service, look, this is service. He's got to be able to put that away. He understands that. He is under pressure, but the problem is they came down right the other end, and here's this flat back four. Okay, we can argue whether it's offside, but it's so close, it shouldn't be that close. And then Tim Howard comes out, does what he needs to do, making that first save, but gets absolutely no help in the emergency defending department from that back four.
Right, but good recovery then from Jeff Cameron, because arguably he was the GOAT on the goal for Belgium. Good response here, and again, set pieces, Alexi.
Well, you know, I get hoarse talking about set pieces, but they are a huge part of the USA game plan. They always have been, and they always should be. And there are ways to get back into the game, especially a game where you're being outplayed. Right. And let's be honest, the U.S. was outplayed. The possession that Belgium had from the very first whistle was incredible. They weren't able to get the possession from the U.S. side throughout the game, and that's a problem. So you find ways to get back in the game, set pieces.
And I'd argue that the U.S. did a good job the last 20 minutes to get back into this game, and that second half is coming right back here on a gorgeous, balmy, hot summer night here in Cleveland. 1-1, United States, Belgium. Second half next.